Back in 1869, a man just wanted to win $10,000. He had no idea that his little attempt would change the future of the entire planet. And the prize was for the strangest thing, a billiard ball. Yeah, just a ball. Back then, these balls were made from elephant ivory. Elephants were disappearing fast, and the price of ivory was shooting through the roof. A young man named John Wesley Hyatt sat in his tiny workshop looking for an alternative. And in that search, he ended up creating something that is now in your hand, in your kitchen, and even floating around inside your body: plastic. But there is one thing hidden here that nobody ever tells you. That ordinary water bottle in your hand is actually older than the dinosaurs. And you know the weirdest part? The real damage from plastic happens long before it even becomes plastic. There is one more mystery, a long chain that once it is made, nature can never fully undo. And finally, a lie that all of us have believed year after year. Stick with me, because today we are untying every single knot. If you are one of those people who grabs a case of water bottles from the grocery store every week, and you figured this cheap little thing is just molded in some factory, then the real truth is going to give you a little chill. Because the story of plastic does not start in some shiny factory. It starts way, way underground, in the dark. One number will show you just how big this really is. A researcher at the University of California, Roland Geyer, once did the full math on this. Since 1950, humans have made around 8.3 billion tons of plastic. Stop and think about that number again. 8.3 billion tons. That weight is about the same as a billion elephants, the very animal we were trying to save when plastic was born in the first place. See, nature played such a cruel little joke on us. But the story did not stop with Hyatt. In 1907, another scientist named Leo Baekeland made the first fully synthetic plastic. He called it Bakelite, and the world was never the same again. Now let's get into the real stuff. The raw material for your bottle comes from oil and gas. But where did that oil come from? Millions of years ago, countless tiny creatures and algae drifted through the oceans. They died and quietly settled at the very bottom of the sea. On top of them piled rock, sand, crushing pressure, and heat. Over millions of years, that pressure slowly turned those dead creatures into thick, black oil. So when you twist open a plastic cap, you are actually holding the ghost of a life that is millions of years old. Just think about it. The dinosaurs had not even shown up yet, and yet a death from that era is now sitting quietly inside your lunchbox. To turn this ghost into a bottle, you now need fire. But not just any fire. The oil and gas get sent into a giant steel furnace. This furnace is called a cracker.
The name sounds simple, but what happens inside is genuinely terrifying. The temperature inside is pushed up to around 800 degrees Celsius. In this intense heat, the big oil molecules break apart into tiny pieces. It is just like taking scissors and cutting one long rope into little bits. Inside, the gas rushes through at insane speed with a loud hissing sound. The metal pipes almost hum and tremble from the heat. One tiny mistake for even a second, and the whole thing could blow up. One of these little pieces is called ethylene. Remember that word, because nearly 90% of the world's ethylene is made purely to produce plastic. A colorless, odorless gas, and yet it is the real foundation of the entire plastic world. Now, scientists call these little pieces monomers. Think of a monomer as a single, separate bead, and you can never make a necklace out of just one bead. So now, the real game begins. Millions of these beads get linked together, one after another, and link by link, they form one long, strong necklace. Scientists gave this necklace a name, polymer. Poly means many, and mer means part. Many parts joined into one chain. This linking happens under terrifying pressure. According to Berkeley Lab, in some plastics, this pressure goes up to 150 to 350 times normal. That is so much pressure, it is honestly hard to even imagine. And once this necklace is fully formed, nature can no longer easily untie its knots. A dry leaf falls to the ground and blends back into the soil in a few weeks. But this chain, it does not fully break down even in 400 years. That little spoon you toss out today will outlast even your great-grandchildren. So where does the biggest damage actually happen while building such a tough chain? The answer will genuinely stop you in your tracks. We all think plastic damage means a bunch of bottles floating in the ocean, but the truth is hidden much deeper. Research from Berkeley Lab shows that nearly 75% of plastic's carbon pollution happens before it even becomes plastic. So the drilling, the transporting, and that 800-degree furnace, these are the exact steps where most of the damage is already done. The real pollution happened long before you ever picked up that bottle. That means the problem is not only in throwing it away, the problem is hidden inside the making of it. And the big oil companies running this whole game know exactly where the damage is, yet they refuse to stop, all for profit. So that is the full story of how plastic is made, from oil to beads and from beads to a long chain. Feels like the story ends right here, right? But the real shock is still coming, because there is one thing we have been made to believe for years. The name of that carefully built lie? Recycling. We have been taught that recycling the bottle somehow wipes away all the guilt. Toss it in the blue bin and we are supposedly off the hook.
But reality tells a completely different story. Of all the plastic humans have ever made, only 9% has ever been recycled. Only 9%. The rest was burned or it is just sitting in the ground in the ocean. And remember that chain that does not break? It simply refuses to fall apart. So most plastic does not really disappear. It just keeps getting smaller. It gets so small that you can no longer see it with the naked eye. These are called microplastics. And these microplastics are now hiding in rainwater, in the fish on your plate, and even in human blood. These tiny pieces are now found even in the deepest trenches of the ocean. They are found in the far Arctic ice, where no human has ever dumped any plastic. Researchers have even found traces of it in the bodies of newborn babies. Honestly, what this chain does once it gets inside our bodies is something even scientists do not fully understand yet. And that not knowing is what worries me the most at night. So if you think the solution is easy, no, it is not really easy. We have just been looking in the wrong place all along. We were looking in the trash can, while the real problem sits inside that 800-degree furnace. Next time you pick up a red Solo cup at some backyard party, pause for a second and think, this cup will still be lying around exactly like this in your grandchildren's time. Now let's look back for a moment. Hyatt only wanted to make a billiard ball. He actually wanted to save the elephants. And today, that very same invention has wrapped the whole planet in an invisible chain. Those tiny monomer beads are now one massive necklace all around us. A necklace that we, with our own hands, have placed around our own necks. Every year, we add around 380 million tons of new plastic to this chain. That means roughly every minute, a truckload of plastic ends up in the ocean. And there is no sign of that flow slowing down. And every single piece is waking that million-year-old ghost back up. So from now on, when you pick up a piece of plastic, you will not just see a cheap object. You will see a million-year-old dead life, a terrifying fire, insane pressure, and the whole story of a chain that never breaks. Now you know this story, and yet most of the people around you still have no idea. So now tell me honestly, whose fault is it really? The giant companies that keep churning out this cheap chain purely for profit? Or us, the ones who buy it every day and toss it away 2 minutes later? The start can be small, buying one less bottle, reusing one bag a few more times,
and slowing this chain down even a little is truly in our hands. Drop your honest answer down in the comments. I will actually read them. And if you feel your family needs to know this truth too, just quietly send this video their way.